Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. So, all right, I'm gonna discuss this real quick because I've seen this pattern going on for quite some time now, and it's not just like over this past year with the Biden administration. This goes all the way back to as far as I can remember in politics or anything in civil service or having to deal with addressing people and dealing with the community or anything along those lines. I've seen this pattern of semantics. Now, this is a play on words. This is where you really get into the study and the meaning of words through semantics, and words can be manipulated in order to deceive somebody, yet cover somebody's butt whenever they come back to be questioned about what they said versus what they meant, if that makes any sense to you. So let me try to break this down a little bit and give a few examples. One of the best examples that I like to give, man, is in the Garden of Eden. The serpent said to Eve, he said, if you eat of this fruit, no, he asked her, what about the fruit of the tree over there? It's like, oh, God said we can't eat of that. Oh, why? Because you'll surely die. He said, well, you won't surely die. I mean, like he knows that if you eat of the tree, then your eyes will be open. Now, Satan didn't really lie, but he used semantics. He used the play on words. You're not gonna surely die, like die. And so that was one of the first that was one of the first examples of semantics that stood out to me. That's one of the first times when I was like, so he's really tricky. But then too, in that same token, so was God. God was using semantics too, because he was saying that, yeah, you will die, but it will be more of a spiritual death than an actual physical one. And a lot of the physical ramifications that came with the act that they chose to take, it just bled over into the physical realm, but it was definitely a spiritual death. So, that was one of the first examples of semantics that really stood out to me in my life that I can really remember. And being that I'm a writer and I love to write songs and stuff like that, I've always been big into wordplay. So that's why when people start talking about hip hop and things like that, you can't really discuss who the best artist is or who the best MC is if they don't even write their own material. Anybody that has writers for them are not in the discussion for the best MC. Now they could be the best entertainer, yeah, but they can never be considered the best MC because the MC is a master of ceremonies. That's somebody who studies his craft of wordplay, and he knows how to manipulate words and use words in ways that will bring a certain outcome that is desired from that person. So when you're able to work in the artistry of the gift of gab and how to influence people through your speech, then you will understand the nuances that can be used in saying something. That's like I can say a word, but the tone that I put on that word is going to give that word a totally different meaning. I can say the word nigga in so many different ways. I can say, as a black person, I can say it in a way to another black person to where it's offensive. And he knows that it has the same venom behind it as if it came from a Klan member. I can say the word nigga in a way that's so loving to one of my friends that'll bring tears to his eyes. I can say nigga in a way that's so funny that I have everybody in the room ribs hurting because of the way that I manipulated that one single word, and I can do it in 3, 4, 5 different ways. And that goes for any other word. And this is something that is known in the world of literature, it's known in the world of wordsmiths. We understand this stuff very well. And if you have to deal with people out in public and you're a public servant, or you deal in hospitality or things like that, then you understand as well how to speak to people, how to have certain emphasis on your voice, how to make eye contact, when not to make eye contact, all of these different things, not to get in a person's space when you're speaking so they don't feel uncomfortable. All of these things play into the influencing of people through your words. And so we see in politics that there's a lot of hand gestures that they do. That's not just a natural thing. These are things that they were taught to do, things that they were taught to do to put emphasis on certain words. And so when you always hear Joe Biden, everybody in his administration, everybody in the left wing media saying, let me make this clear. This is one of their main catchphrases. Let me make this clear. That's something that you hear echoed through all of their whole administration. Not to say it's a good or bad thing, but it's one of those things that they're trying to beat home. We're making things clear. It's as to indicate that the last administration was very unclear. They were very chaotic and just unorganized, and to make themselves appear to be organized and um, more competent and capable of doing the job. So there's meaning behind these things that these politicians are saying. That's why they continue to repeat these things, and that's why they get all of their people to say these things. So these semantics are being used in our government all the time. All of these catchphrases, all of these, that's why there's so many arguments. If you sit and you look at these congressional hearings, you will hear people using semantics all of the time, especially in their statements. Well, this is what you stated to the court, that on this day you were in the store and you saw this take place with this person. Well, I said that I was in the store, but I didn't say that that person was within hearing distance of me. So as whereto I was able to see uh, them having an exchange, I wasn't able to hear them having an exchange. You know, things like that. They'll skate around the conversation, and they'll try to say that they meant something totally different. Well, I did say that word, but I meant it in the sense of this or that. We've seen time and time again in just recent months, man. We've seen trials where people have almost gotten off based on semantics. You look at how they go into people's Instagram and how they go into people's Facebook and all of those things like that, and they'll read their messages and things like that. Well, when you get into court, can you argue semantics? Because there's a lot of wordplay and slang that we use as a people that could be very well misconstrued as, you know, something totally different. So how do they decipher what a person is talking about and have 100% proof that that's what that person is talking about? I never kind of understood that. I never understood how they could, and I look how people talk. I see the codes that people use when they talk on social media and stuff like that. So, how can a cop determine that if I say, "Yo, I got that Bleezo and I'm getting ready to go do this thing out here," and when I come back, we gonna open up that loud pack and do what we do? How can you determine that I said that I'm gonna go get a gun and I'm gonna go handle some work out in the streets, probably shoot somebody, or threaten them with a gun, or do something pertaining to that gun, and then when I come back, we gonna open up a pack of weed and we gonna smoke out? That's just one interpretation of what I just said. Now, up in Dallas, Fort Worth, what I just said right here in Killeen, Texas, might mean something totally different up there. And then go right across the way to Dallas, and it'll mean something totally different there. And it might not mean nothing. They might not even know what I'm talking about. But that's just how our language just varies from area to area. It's not from state to state. It's not from city to city anymore. It's broken down into a micro group now, and you have different dialects and different languages basically that are developing in different neighborhoods. I can go to a different neighborhood over here and they say different words than what we say over here in the Willows. So, these barriers in communication are one of the biggest issues that is plaguing our people, not just on the level of government and politics and things like that, but definitely on the local levels and on the personal levels. Because when you have groups of people who are basically speaking different languages and they're not able to communicate with each other, you're going to end up with conflict. And if you're a believer of the word of God, then you just take the Tower of Babel as one of those examples. Because those people, when they were able to communicate with each other clearly and effectively, there was nothing that they couldn't do. But as soon as their ability to communicate was disturbed and disrupted, it threw a monkey wrench in all of their plans. They dispersed, they separated, they broke off into different groups based on how they communicated, and then they began to fight. So that's proof right there. Now, if you don't believe the word of God, then that ain't for you. That's for the believers out there. That's just an example for us to chew on and something for us to think about throughout this day. But this is just how word manipulation is being used within our society on a regular basis, and it's becoming so commonplace that you can't divide the truth from the false. And that's because of the amount of information that we have now. It used to be a time to where they held us in ignorance. You remember the dark ages whenever they burned all the Bibles and you would get pretty much killed if you're found to have a Bible in your home. You know why they did that? They did that because the papacy wanted to keep the people ignorant to the word of God so that they could use religion as a means of control over the masses, and that they could garner power from the religious seat. That's why that took place. And so, based on the manipulation that was placed on these people, a whole entire religious sect came out of this, and it's the largest Christian sect in the world, basically. And a lot of this stuff is based on word manipulation. Now, if you're Catholic and that's your religious preference and you're offended by what I'm saying, uh, I'm sorry that you're offended by what I'm saying, but I'm not sorry for saying what I'm saying because these are facts. And so now, when you get into the wordplay and the semantics that are based around our regular everyday life, you see the lack of communication that is going between each other. So that goes back to saying we need to learn positive and effective communication, because if we continue going the route that we're going and allowing ourselves to disconnect with other people because of the convenience of social media and things like that, then we're going to lose our human connection. And that's exactly what we're doing. And that is the biggest fuel and motivator for why all of this violence and all of these misunderstandings and division is happening in the world, because we're losing our connection with each other as humans. When you no longer have to do a face to face with somebody, that takes away from the transference of energy that goes between the two of you. You understand? It's different than being on this screen. It's different than being on um whatever the face communications and all of that stuff. Um it's different being in person. It's a whole lot different. The influence is different. The impact is different. That's why people go to concerts, because they want to connect with that artist's music on a personal level, and they want to be there in person to experience that with that artist. And that's where a lot of people become fans, by going to these concerts and being able to connect with that artist on a physical, personal level. Because we are antennas and we're receptors, and we receive and we transmit this energy back and forth to each other. So when you take that away from us as humans, then that gives us the ability to not be able to sympathize or empathize with anybody else. And we're more able to sit by and see somebody have somebody stand on their neck for over 8 minutes while we just film. You get where I'm saying? Or where I'm going with this. So I just want to give people a clearer understanding of wordplay and semantics, and how words and things are being manipulated in order to keep us guessing at what's going on. And so, as long as you can recognize what they're doing, then you won't get caught up in the semantics and find yourself out there regurgitating something that you heard somewhere else that wasn't a fact. It was just a play on words. Um, this is your boy D Mike. I hope somebody gets something out of this. If you don't, then oh well, I did. But I like to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for subscribing, and everybody for just interacting and coming in and dropping your comments. Whether you're hating or whether you're seriously looking for a solution to a problem, I enjoy and I welcome all of that feedback. So this your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.